Welcome all of you to today's What's New webinar. We will be talking about RapidAuthor 2312, and let me start by mentioning the obvious, as it is already June. We are indeed quite late with this webinar. As most of you know, 2312 has been out for quite a while now, but after the release we had a lot of events to attend this year, and we were delighted to meet some of you in person. That was our priority, but it did make it somewhat difficult to find a date for our webinar. But better late than never. And now let's together have a look at the new features in RapidAuthor 2312. Good. Today, what we'd like to do is structure the webinar a little bit differently and follow the journey an author takes while creating technical documents. Your workflow as a technical author typically starts with preparing the data and the tools, doing import, etc. Then we move to authoring itself, split into 3D and 2D related features. And finally, we go to the publishing and the viewing of your created content. So let's get into it. We start with the most important new features in 2312 for the preparation step. Our first enhancement on the topic of data import is product manufacturing information filtering upon import. Up until now, PMIs, as we call them, could only be imported in full or not at all. You might have seen that yourself. However, we often see cases when customers only need specific types of PMIs, for example, with callouts. If you were already in this situation, you previously had to import all PMIs, which can increase import time substantially. And during authoring, you then had to spend time to remove the unnecessary PMIs for your use case. Now you can exclude types of PMIs you're not interested in from imports directly and save significant time during preparation and then during authoring. To enable the selective import of PMIs, you just launch the tool Rapid Configuration, open your import profile, and load a sample source file. On the structure page, which you can see here, you open the settings dialog beneath the Read PMI checkbox. And here you will find all types of PMIs present in the loaded source file, and you just select the types you need. That's it. The next preparation feature we want to highlight is one many users have been waiting for, and we call it Incremental Import. We start a video so you can see how that works in practice. To make use of this new functionality, you just enable it in your import profile, as you can see here. Now, we often see cases when customers need to work with a large assembly, but the entire geometry is not needed right away. Instead, only specific parts of it are required for authoring. Yet the author doesn't want to or cannot import only a subassembly, as they need to preserve the original item tree. In many cases, it's not the best idea to import huge assemblies all at once just for performance reasons. You are limited by the available RAM and overall speed of your system, and that cannot be completely avoided. Incremental import solves this problem in many situations. What it allows you to do is to just import the item tree with metadata. We just did that here, but no 3D geometry is imported initially. This import is very quick, as you saw, and once you have the full item tree in RapidAuthor, the author can then import 3D geometry of the specific items or assemblies they actually need for the current authoring task. When an item does not yet have a 3D model loaded, you can see its icon marked in the item tree, and to now import a specific geometry, you just select the item and execute the command import geometry for selection. This now imports relevant items into the project without loading the whole geometry of the full assembly. Incremental import also recognizes items imported into the project from different source files with different import profiles and will handle this case correctly. As a final note, this feature only works with a limited number of formats, more specifically JT via RapidJT component, CATIA, ProEngineer, NX, and SolidWorks. More information you can, as always, find in our documentation. And next we have batch conversion. For now the video is playing. Cortona2D Editor Pro now offers you a batch conversion tool to convert multiple graphics from one format to another. Batch conversion is available for all supported formats by RapidAuthor. And this is what it looks like. In Cortona2D Editor Pro, you just click on Batch Convert, select the input and output format, as well as the source files and a target location. And then you click Run. And as you can see, the files are converted for you in one batch. And in 2312, we of course also support additional new cut data file formats. As you know, we keep this up to date as much as possible. For a full list of supported formats, please see our full release notes. Here's a list of the added cut data formats. And of course, there's much more. We will always only highlight a small selection of important features we have been in discussion with our customers. As a high-level overview, we have improved the support for section shields and now import them correctly if present in JT model view objects. When creating IPC pages from JT model views on import, only model views marked as published will be imported. Then we have product manufacturing information of table type now also supported. We have enhancements for the import of textures in JT files if you use RapidJT component to handle JT files. And as always, for more information on all of these features and a full list of new additions to our release, please see the full release notes. Now let's look at 3D authoring features. The first feature we'd like to highlight today will significantly improve working with complex assemblies. 2312 adds two new selection modes in all RapidAuthor authoring tools called X-ray mode and translucent shell mode. While these two modes behave somewhat differently, they both serve the purpose of clearly distinguishing the selected 3D items from the rest of the geometry, especially when these 3D items are hidden inside other assemblies. This will help a lot during authoring and during familiarization with the imported 3D data, as you can see here. To use the feature, you just activate the required mode and then select a 3D item. And the rest of the model becomes translucent and you can clearly see the selected items. You may recognize these modes from our interactive publications, where this type of visualization has been available already. And now you can also make use of it during authoring directly, and we hope to provide a much improved experience for authors working with complex datasets. In the same category is a new command available in this release called Select Invisible, which will provide significant aid in optimizing your project's performance. What this command allows you to select all 3D items that are currently invisible, or in other words, are hidden inside other items, as you can see here in the item tree. To use the functionality, you just click the command, and then all items currently invisible will be selected for you. Then you can choose to remove them, or maybe reduce the representation only for these items. Doing this can drastically increase performance, and the new option saves you a lot of manual effort in trying to select internal components not relevant to your current authoring needs. And this command works for the current state of the scene. In certain cases, you may also need to find hidden 3D items only in specific assemblies. Here, just select the assembly in question and then execute the Select Invisible command, and the relevant internal items will be selected for you. Another new functionality we'd like to highlight significantly improves the functionality of the object gallery item flat cable, which can be used to mimic various electronic cables and now comes with an auto-detect feature. After inserting the flat cable object from the object gallery, it is added to your scene. Now in the auto-detect tab, you can select the 3D item you wish to recreate, and we generate a flexible flat cable for you. Auto-detect, by the way, you might already know, it was first introduced several releases back for the whole spline object in order to auto-generate complex flexible cables from static 3D geometry. Auto-detect for flat cables works very much the same way. After the flat cable has been created, you can attach both ends to other items and animate them together. This is especially useful in rapid manual and rapid learning projects. And next, we have gathered input from technical authors about aligning and repositioning of 3D items. Depending on your geometry, this can be quite tricky. And to help with this action, we have implemented automatic detection of edges, so you can skip the process of manually repositioning manipulators. Now you can align objects or the manipulator axis to the edges of the 3D model, the lines between surfaces. And you can also align objects to curved edges. In this case, you can snap to a particular segment of the curved edge. More detailed information on how this works exactly with examples is of course available in the documentation. The last authoring feature I'd like to briefly mention is an improvement to the S1000D authoring workflow, specifically to the way you use applicability. Applicability in S1000D decides on a very high level if something is applicable to a certain variant. Say, one configuration of a car has a heated windshield, another one doesn't. Based on the applicability setting of the windshield heating, related instructions in your documentation would be included or excluded. And with this release, we include support of applicability from the data module conditions cross-reference table, CCT. You might know if you work with S1000D. And this module is generally used to declare conditions that will be used to set applicability in data modules. Now, after 3D authoring, let's also have a look into improvements and new features that will support you in the creation of 2D illustrations. Here you can see the generation of a 2D illustration, and in this dialog you can see in the Styles tab the different styles we have for lines, including for callouts and magnifiers. Generally, line styles in RapidAuthor and Cortona2D Editor Pro refer to a specific combination of properties, such as line width, color, outline properties, types of edges and tips, dash style, and many, many more. And if you are familiar with Cortona2D Editor Pro, these styles are shown in the Property Inspector window for the selected object. Let's have a look at how that looks in Cortona2D Editor Pro. Here we see the generated 2D illustration. We'll start Cortona2D Editor Pro. And now on the bottom right side, you can see the Property Inspector window. And here the user can define custom styles for different types of objects according to authoring or to company standards. When you first install the RapidAuthor suite, in the 2D image options dialog, you will find only default styles. And as you define and save custom styles in Cortona2D Editor Pro, these styles will now also appear for selection in the 2D image options dialog of RapidAuthor. And just generally in summary, you can now choose default or custom styles of lines for callouts and for magnifiers before you generate a 2D image. So you will not need to apply these styles in Cortona2D Editor Pro manually. That will save all of you a lot of time, we hope. And of course, we have many more improvements ready for you. In the previous release, we had introduced a very popular feature called Composite illustrations. This allows the combination of multiple illustrations into one master, or so-called composite illustration. Starting from this release 23.12, not just vector illustrations can be used within composite illustrations, but also raster ones. A small but quite important addition that we have discussed with our customers. We have also improved raster editing in Cortona2D Editor Pro. And in 23.12, the Raster Editor now has a new fill tool that you can see here in bright blue. And we also support anti-aliasing for the eraser tool. Another small improvement to the user experience was implemented for object snapping. While dragging an object, its point can be snapped to other objects. If you need to attach one object to another or to a complex figure in your illustration, this new functionality will greatly improve the speed of authoring and ease of use. Finally, if you need to draw objects in isometric perspective, you will likely know about the option to project objects from the orthogonal to the isometric grid. This already saves a lot of manual effort in the creation of drawings, and with this release we introduced the opposite command. So now you are able to convert objects from isometric to orthogonal projection. This was a sneak peek of new functionality to improve efficiency in the creation of 2D illustrations, and now let's look at the last step of the authoring workflow, the publication. With 23.12, 3 new publish options are now available for your interactive publications. The measurement tool, the section tool, and a secondary 3D window for the selected item. Let's start with the measurement tool. This is one of our most requested features, and with it, end users are able to quickly check the approximate distance between two 3D points or between 2 points on a specific plane. We provide a convenient unit switch along with a freezing option that keeps measurement results persistent. To clarify, this measurement tool is not used during authoring with the RapidAuthor suite, but in the resulting interactive publication. So you can do quick and easy measurements while viewing published content. An important word of caution and a disclaimer though, measurements obtained with this tool cannot be precise, as RapidAuthor uses tessellated 3D geometry. This means the 3D model you see in published content consists of polygons, and precision depends on your import settings and on the representation you choose to convert the original CAD data into 3D. Still, this is a very useful tool for rough measurements, and we have had a lot of requests for a function like this. Our advice is to just not use the results obtained in the measurement tool directly in your workflow. To obtain exact dimensions necessary for manufacturing, servicing, and other critical operations, please refer to the relevant technical documentation. The second addition is a user-controlled section tool, and it's another much desired feature for publications. With the section tool, the user can quickly create sections at runtime if required, and we also provide a helpful freezing option. It goes without saying that sections can also be created by the author inside our authoring tools, just as we have provided functionality for quite a while. These sections are persistent and will also appear in interactive publications. The third addition to the viewer, as mentioned, is the option to show selected objects in a separate 3D window. With this functionality, the user is able to examine a specific 3D item on its own and in a separate 3D view. It's very versatile and useful for a lot of use cases, like looking at details of a specific part in a spare parts catalog, in the example you can see here. And lastly, I'd like to mention illustration types. Interactive HTML publications produced with Rapid Catalog or Rapid Illustrator typically come with different pages, each with a 3D view and a 2D illustration. Let's have a look at an example here. The author may also decide to publish a project just with 3D views or 2D images. Previously, the downside was that this decision was controlled by a simple option and affected all project pages. As you might have seen, if the resolution is high enough, you can now select to give more flexibility to authors a page-level metadata called illustration type, which controls this option for a specific page. So, for instance, you would be able to decide to show one page with 3D only and another with 2D only, like we did here. And if we publish the project as 3D, we see all pages that are marked as 3D. Now, if we change the setting for the publication to 2D only, we will only see the 2D pages. No 3D content here. And here you can see a different page that has 2D content. Free to play around with this functionality, and for more information, see the documentation. Here's a list of further information. You will know this. That's our release note page. We also have a knowledge base, and you can play around with the publication features. Our demo page has already been updated. That's it for today's quick overview of new functionality. As usual, we have many more small changes and improvements for you that will all be listed in the release notes. But now we're interested in your questions. Do you need any further clarifications or have specific questions for the new features? As the first questions coming in, let me just try and move the questions window to here so you can see our responses as well. The first question, thank you, is will be also the 3D from CATIA V5 release 31 supported? Can you double check, team? By the way, while we wait for a reply, seems I have to actively click here. Please note that in this Teams-based software, if you have a follow-up question to a question that has already been answered, I believe you have to post a new question, just so you're aware. We're not going to ignore you. In the meantime, let me read the second question. Can I use the select invisible function to remove hidden parts from the IPC page where assembled equipment is displayed? If this equipment is displayed and disassembled on another page, and these hidden parts are visible there. It's a bit inconvenient with the Q&A tab in Teams. I hope you can read that properly. In response to the first question, by the way, regarding CATIA formats, we do support CATIA V5 up to 6R2023. I do hope that answers your question. You can double check the releases from CATIA. Not ideal, the Q&A tab here. And by the way, you will see the published questions and answers. I will just read the most important ones. Is it possible to create flexible center lines in 3D, like with the Explode Assembly tool? Yes, that is possible. The object in the object gallery, as you can see here, is called axial line. Do we have a, I hope that's visible here. Do we have an answer for the first question about the select invisible function on IPC pages? Perfect. Very good. Thank you, Mikael. So it's possible to select and delete the invisible parts on each page independently. I hope that answers your question. Any more questions? Don't hold back. That's what we're here for. Is it possible to import every 3D PDF files? As a background comment while the team is discussing, we generally do support publication to a 3D PDF. 3D PDF is a bit of a strange format, and in lots of discussions with our customers, we ended up with the conclusion that it's not the ideal format to pick in comparison to HTML5 based interactive publications. But we do have support for a 3D PDF if it's part of your workflow. I don't know about import of 3D PDF files. This is in the generic import profile in the game. Perfect. So that means you can import 3D PDF in the import profile generic. You do need Rapid Data Converter for that. Any other questions? One more question. How can I see the part selected by the select invisible command? As you can see, the parts are selected in the item tree, and you can directly delete them or change the representation from the item tree. You might have seen that in the video. You can also have another look in the recording, I believe, or we can publish the video. Once you select the select invisible command, the item tree will be filtered, and only the items that are defined as invisible will be selected for you, and then you can go from there directly. And please feel free, if you start working with these new features, or old ones for that matter, do provide input on how it works for you, if there's any additions that you might want to see in the future. We do base our roadmap priority on direct feedback from you. Latest question was, is there a good way of exporting a structured Excel file out of the HTML preview? We do support export of shopping carts to CSV in publication if it's made with a generic IPC specification. I don't know if this fully covers your use case. Please feel free to specify if that answers your question, or provide a question to us after the webinar. Will depend a bit on what exactly you want to export. Yes, for a demo, as mentioned, our demo page, demo.cortona3d.com, which has also been updated for the new publication features already. You can play around with published content yourself, which especially for Rapid Catalog projects might be enough. If you are interested in very specific questions regarding Rapid Catalog features and publications for Rapid Catalog, please let us know after the webinar, and we can see if we have more content for you, videos or documentation regarding the features. Yeah, this is a very reasonable comment again. If you use 3D PDF for import or as published format, please let us know if you run into any issues. 3D PDF is a bit of a flexible standard, and it is very good to know for us if you run into any issues with import or publication to 3D PDF, so we can have a look ourselves. Any other questions on your mind? I believe we have answers to all the published questions. Let me have a double check here. Yeah. As Alex says, the videos we will publish. And if you cannot find information you're specifically looking for your use case, please feel free to let us know directly. Yes, to see the parts selected by the select invisible command, feel free to play around with the two different modes. They provide insight into the object in a slightly different way. You saw examples in the video we showed earlier. In this case, we suggest switching to translucent shell. The answer is new. Let me reread the question. Can I use the select invisible function for removing hidden parts in a disassemble procedure if such parts may become visible during disassembly process? You can make the parts invisible to improve performance and then use the make visible animation when the appropriate moment of the animation comes. That would be the recommended solution. Good. Any more questions in the queue? Which formats are planned for the future? You're using WRL files. In which formats will be able? I'm not entirely sure what your goal is, but our output format for 3D is Vermo. You also have an option in publication to select X3D as output format instead of Vermo. It really depends on what you want to do with the published 3D data. Do we have a community of Cortona2D experts? There are various platforms where, depending on the type of industry or the context, there's a lot of exchange regarding Cortona2D products. I don't know if we want to specifically point to specific platforms. Maybe you have a comment for that, team. Yes, and as a comment to the previous question regarding Vermo or WRL files, we can import these directly. I'm not entirely sure if this answers your question fully or if you're looking at other output formats other than Vermo. But VRML, WRL is the file ending for Vermo formats, VRML. And we have multiple import profiles for different sources. Please have a look if that doesn't fully answer your question, or if you're looking at output formats, let us know. Yes, and of course we can also export static geometry. I also mentioned X3D earlier as output format. And for the question regarding Cortona2D community, we can provide links after the webinar. Good. Time between questions is going down. Please let us know if you have any other direct questions to the functionality we presented. MP3 or MP4, I suppose, as output. As you can see in the response, we support the export of animations from Rapid Manual in different video formats. You can have a look how that works in the documentation. I believe on our demo page, we also have a couple of projects where we provide the videos that have been created directly, so you can have a look how that looks. Exactly, then you can have a look yourself. Make movie. Okay. If there are no more questions, I give the team a couple of seconds to frantically answer any remaining questions that might still be open. But as I mentioned, if you think about that later, or look at the demo site and the release notes and you have follow-up questions, just let us know. And we will have a look at your specific use case and provide further information. Yeah, that applies to everything else that might still be open, or that if you're like me, the most important questions always come directly after hanging up. Not a problem. Send your questions to support@cortona3d.com and we will have a look for you. And in this case, obviously, support@cortona3d.com also serves as a somewhat community. You can interact with us directly, but we can also provide further links. Team, do we have any other open questions?
No.
Perfect. Very good. Then I'd say we end a couple of minutes early. For everyone, as I mentioned before, please feel free if there are any other questions that come up after discussion, or if after you have looked at the demo page or worked with the new release 2312 that you need answers on, drop us a line at support@cortona3d.com and we will have a look at your specific question and your specific situation afterwards. Very good. Then I wish everyone a fantastic day. We will close the session and hope to talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.